The Simpsons tend to be very hit and miss with their predictions, especially as of late. Now it is important to remember The Simpsons is just a cartoon, which satirically makes fun of things that have happened or likely will happen in the near future. And in the past, we've debunked that the show's writers aren't from the future, nor do they know something that we don't. Yet still, for some reason, we all continue watching the show in hopes of learning what our near future may end up looking like. And that's exactly what we're doing in today's video. Welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions, guys. Today we're counting down the top 5 ways the Simpsons predictions could still come true. I'm your host, Jared Bronstein, and let me know in the comments down below which one of these predictions you think is most likely to happen. Stick around for some bonus content, but for now, let's get right into it. At number 5, we got Ivanka Trump runs for president. At the time of this recording, they've yet to officially call the election, but it seems the writing is on the wall for President Trump, and Joe Biden is set to take the role of President of the United States of America. Now again, it's possible a recount flips a state or two, fraudulent votes are discovered, who knows? Regardless of how this one shakes out, meaning if Trump is re-elected or not, I think it's safe to say when all is said and done, he's over politics. But that doesn't mean the Trump family is over them as well. When Donald took office, he quickly employed all of his family, one way or another, with Ivanka specifically being an advisor to the president, and her duties, as per CNN, were focusing on, I quote, women's economic empowerment and working family issues, workforce development and promoting STEM education, and combating human trafficking. Given that she now does have experience within the government, and many saw her as one of the more professional and better members of Trump's administration, at least in regards to who's in his family, it is very possible she decides to run for president. In a 2016 episode, Homer is seen walking around with a sticker, or button, that reads Ivanka 2028. And although currently the focus is on Trump's re-election, in 8 years, it certainly is possible that Ivanka, who would be 47 years old at the time, could run and actually win the bid for presidency. Given the fact that a lot of Americans approved of her father in office, if Ivanka were to run, they may seek comfort in the familiarity of how her father ran the country when he was in charge. Aside from this, in a 2018 book by journalist Michael Wolff, although he didn't cite sources, when speaking about Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner, Wolff wrote, I quote, between themselves the two had made an earnest deal. If sometime in the future the opportunity arose, she'd be the one to run for president. The first woman president Ivanka entertained would not be Hillary Clinton, it would be Ivanka Trump. Nothing is official just yet, but this could be a very real possibility. Now on to number 4, Digital Big Ben. In a 1995 episode, Lisa's Wedding, which takes place in 2010 in the show, the jazz-loving daughter of Marge and Homer goes to England to meet her fiancé's parents. And in the episode, you can clearly see Big Ben, one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world, digitalized. Interestingly enough, the clock has been under repairs for quite some time and is expected to be up and running again in 2021. They're repairing some of the clock's dials, and although this isn't the first time it's been repaired, it has been quite some time since the monument has been out of commission. We're going back to 1983, which is when repairs started, lasting until 85. And although it seems they have no intentions of making things digital just yet, who knows what the future holds? Although this is a piece of history, as we can clearly see, they are willing to make slight alterations, such as changing the colors of the clock's arms. Now that isn't necessarily as big of a deal as it would be to make the entire clock digital, but it's something. All in all though, it seems things are going to stay the way they are for quite some time. But still, it doesn't mean Big Ben won't eventually go digital. It may happen when the entire building goes down, whether that's due to an accident, a deliberate attempt, or simply due to it no longer being structurally safe. All in all, it seems the only way Big Ben actually does go digital is if the Westminster Palace, which is home to House of Parliament, goes under some major renovations or is completely rebuilt. And yes, it does seem like a crazy idea, but this year alone has been quite a wild ride, and as we've clearly seen, if there is one show who can predict the future, it's The Simpsons. They may not always be spot on, but for the most part, they got a way of showing us things that happen in their show, which eventually do come to fruition in real life. Hopefully that's not the case with Big Ben, but that's yet to be determined. Up next at number 3, we got Colonizing Mars. Another 2016 episode shows Lisa volunteering to go on a one-way trip to Mars in hopes of colonizing the planet by the year 2026. Eventually this leads to the entire family signing up, before it comes down to just Lisa and Marge, as all the other volunteers were proven to either be too stupid or simply not fit for space travel. The episode ends with Lisa and Marge living in Mars in the year 2051, with Lisa arguing that she now wants to move to Venus. As we know, eccentric billionaire and SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk has plans of eventually colonizing Mars, if it's possible. First things first, the company is planning to launch their Mars-bound cargo flights as early as 2022, and if that proves to be successful, we may end up sending a select few people to the planet by the year 2030. And if they're able to stick it out on Mars for a good, I don't know, say 10 or 15 years, for all we know by the year 2051, we may be able to actually colonize Mars. Be interesting to watch this video in 2051 and see how far off or on the mark I am. For all we know, in 2051, we'll be living on the sun. I shouldn't have said that on camera. Alright, moving on to number 2. Got hover cars. Now this seems to have been a very popular idea among numerous shows, movies, really any kind of art. The Jetsons, which took place in 2062, saw the family using a robot butler, as well as tons of other futuristic features, such as flying cars. The Simpsons also poked fun at the idea of hover cars when Professor Frink creates a machine that allows Bart and Lisa to see into the future. The year was set to be 2013, which, as we know, came and went, and there certainly weren't any hover cars that I saw on the streets of Toronto. That being said, although the year was off, the idea of hover cars in the near future may not be. Again, this is a prediction that you could credit a lot of shows or films for, who, given the rate at which we advance our technology, were clearly under the impression cars would somehow be able to hover. But still, the Simpsons are a part of that group who committed to the bit, and it seems their jokes may come to fruition sooner than later. More specifically, in 2017, Renault released a concept of what a hover car, which they titled Float, could potentially look like and how it would operate. It's believed the same technology is currently being used by Tesla for their Hyperloop train design. Volkswagen has also been looking into the idea, or at the very least concept, of hovering cars, so we may see things develop much sooner than we realize. Now in at number 1, Baby Translator. We're taking you way back to the early days of The Simpsons, when Homer's brother Herb comes to town and shows off a baby translator. The episode is from season 3, episode 24, which aired way back in 1992. To no surprise, using Maggie as a test subject to see if the translator even works, her sounds are eventually translated to say, I quote, "lavish attention on me and entertain me." Now this is a bit of a stretch, but back in 2015, an app coming out of China called the Infant Cry Translator was apparently created to help understand what your baby's cry means. Usually it's one of 3 things. They're hungry, tired, or poop themselves. I actually do the same. Now I'm not so sure how accurate the Cry Translator is, as realistically they have a 1 of 3 shot of getting things right most of the time. That being said, I find it next to impossible for an application on a phone to understand a baby. And maybe that's the reason why I'm not one of the engineers trying to create a baby translator. It definitely is an interesting idea, to think that a piece of technology, maybe using the frequency of a baby's cry, can eventually lead to us understanding what a baby is trying to say. At first, we definitely need to master the cry, and then maybe one day, somehow, someway, a piece of technology will be created in which babies are able to make sounds that are then translated into whatever language the device is set to. As I've been saying throughout this video, it's a crazy thought, but crazier things have happened in the past. We just need to wait and see how quickly our technology advances. And although we may not have a device that could translate a baby's sound into words in my lifetime, hopefully future generations will be able to use some sort of tech that allows for just that. And there you guys have it for the top 5 ways the Simpsons predictions could still come true. Some of the predictions on this list are likely much closer to coming to fruition than we really think or even realize. I'd say if I had to choose one that is most likely, I'd go with Ivanka running for president. Given her family's history and considering how recent her father had run the country, I wouldn't be all that surprised if those who supported Donald Trump would end up voting for his daughter should she run in a future election. But now I want to hear from you guys. Of the 5 predictions that I put on here, which do you think is most likely to happen first and why? Let me know all your thoughts in that comment section down below. Let's reply to some comments from the video. Can President Trump sue to stop the vote counting? Kami Tenshi said, the election is nothing more than a circus for our entertainment. Think about it, 2 clowns trying to make the best jokes. It truly is sad that, that's kind of what the election came to, is just 2 candidates that people just had no confidence in really, and they're just like, I'm just gonna go with the lesser of 2 evils. But I will say, it seems like that's kind of been the theme for a long time now. I remember back in 2016 with Trump and Hillary, again, people are like, I don't like Hillary, I don't like Trump, but I'm gonna vote for this one because they're the lesser of 2 evils. I don't know, it just seems like American, politics have a way of just putting 2 people in power that the citizens don't really like or appreciate, yet for some reason they're still there. So there's that. Game Freak Plays said, hey guys, no matter what, let's stick together and stay strong. That's kind of what I was saying in, I think it was that video that I kind of ended things with. I was like, at the end of the day guys, Americans first, politics second. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Regardless of who wins presidency, we gotta figure out a way to stop Americans from dying, and people all over the world really. So I think this whole division of oh, I believe in this, no, you should do this, I'm on this side. It's it's not gonna help you get anywhere. Like they say, you go further, faster together. I think I just made that up on the spot. It's something like that. You go further together, faster alone. Can you help me out here?
Go Canada!
What?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
They say you go. I think they say you go faster alone, further together. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, say that. That sounds good.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. There you go. Scribbly said pretty much, especially when his party owning the Supreme Court. But see, that's the thing, is it doesn't just go from, it's not like Trump's I want to sue, Supreme Court, here you go. it has to go through a ton of courts, which is kind of what happened in Philadelphia. The Commonwealth Court allowed it to happen, and I think it was the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania denied it, and they tried to take it to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. Like, there are so many levels to this that Trump can't just oversee everybody in every state and just go right to the Supreme Court. It has to go through many levels and judges to get to that level. So as much as Trump wants to try to, argue the tallies, the votes, whatever, it seems like it comes down to a state-by-state basis, and he has to go through a lot of hurdles to get to the Supreme Court, which, yes, they say, he owns because it's Republican, but we also can't forget, guys, they're politicians, and at the end of the day, they're going to follow the law and the Constitution, regardless of whether Trump likes it or not, and I genuinely think at the end of the day, if he loses, it likely will be done fair and square. But again, that's just my opinion, guys. I want to hear yours. I'm your host, Jared Bronstein. We'll see you soon. Good luck with everything in the US. I'm half American. Maybe I'll be there soon. Maybe not. I don't know. Probably not. Bye.